Hello everyone, welcome to our flight tonight. It will be an AirSerbia 60 mic flight to Vienna. We are currently parked on Charlie 2 stand in Belgrade Nikola Tesla International Airport. Our estimated off-block time will be in about 20 minutes. So I welcome you all aboard and wish you a pleasant flight. Please feel free, as usual, to ask any questions. And although I'm not a real-world pilot, I'll be more than happy to answer all the questions you have with regards to the flight preparation, all the calculations I've done and why I'm doing it. So feel free to ask anything you like. We are now in the cockpit of this beautiful Yankee uniform Alpha Papa Lima aircraft of AirSerbia. It's Airbus A319. And we'll start. We are already connected to the VATSIM. Everything is set up, so as you can see, our cockpit is cold and dark. And we'll start our usual cockpit preparation. So we'll first turn on the batteries, give it a few seconds to stabilize and perform initial checks, and we can then connect external power and power up the aircraft. While it's booting, we can configure the cockpit lights. We don't need that one. Brightness of the display. There we go. And we can start the MCDU computers. Unfortunately, there is no ATC currently online, so we'll be monitoring the Unicom frequency. And basically, that's it. All we need to do is wait for the system to boot up. There we go. So, press and hold recall, and let's see if we have anything left from the previous flights. No. Inoperable systems, this is all okay because our aircraft is currently offline, so we can clear it. There we go. The next step is basically extinguish all white lights on the overhead panel, and we can proceed with ground control. Execute CVR cockpit voice recorder test. It's done, and we can start our ADIRS systems. Let it align. No smoking signs and emergency exit lights armed. We'll have 144 passengers, so our pack selection for today's flight is going to be on normal. We can do the APU fire test, and while we are here we can perform engine 1 and engine 2 fire test. That's okay. Also turn on PA so it is recorded. Now we can move on to the glare shield, turn on the constraints. This will be populated later on, and we can now contact our airline operation center and initialize our flight. So I'll be the co-pilot today. Here's detected Juliet uniform 604, that is our flight number. We'll execute initialize data request, and as you can see, it is correctly initialized. Initialization is received. We can now perform the OFP data. Now, because I'm flying daytime, this time does not match, but we're going to enter 10:30 Zulu as a departure, and we'll do the instant refuel to avoid waiting for the refueling truck and everything else. The block fuel is 4.4 tons, and that matches our OFP for our block fuel, so that's good. We can send. Aircraft is now loaded with fuel, and we can actually ask for the catering service to be loaded up. There we go. And also we'll set boarding 10 minutes prior to end of block time, but because we are almost full, because we have 144, maybe better if we set it before. There we go, so in 2 minutes it should change to requested. Yep, there we go. Next thing is, let's acquire the Belgrade meter. And as we can see, we already received our initial load sheet, so our zero fuel weight is going to be 56.3 tons. Our takeoff fuel is 4.2 tons, that's because we have 200 kilos of taxi fuel. Takeoff weight is in limits, we are going to accept it. And our max zero fuel weight is going to be 31.7, mark takeoff 31.4, that's all good. 144 passengers entered, landing weight 58.2 tons, maximum 61, so we are within limits, we are fine. Our message is going to give us our end of block time as 10:30 and our CTOT as 10:50, no delays, taxi time 20 minutes for Belgrade, that's not really realistic, it's like 5 minutes maybe of taxi. We have Belgrade meter, 3205 knot, we are going to be taking off from runway 30. Now unfortunately, currently in real life in Belgrade, there are some work being done on the Alpha taxiway, so we can only use Delta, and if we need to use the full length, we are going to enter via Charlie and then backtrack. QNH 1023. Double check with the it should point basically the airport elevation above sea level, which now is 350, so that's okay. Our standby instrument also set, so for that we are good. We have received our estimated, we will need that for calculations later on. Now we do basically a div-srip approach. So first, data, AC status, as we can see, we are in a A319 100, our engine is correct, our active navigation database is active, so that's also good, and we can now proceed to the init page. Nothing to be done here except maybe IRS init, we can confirm aligned, and our cruise flight is now going to be 200, this is because of a constraint. We should basically do a step climb over Parak, but we are going to climb to 380 anyway. So, flight plan, Belgrade, our departure is going to be 30, and our entry waypoint will be, let me just find the route, Tisak. So basically, we'll select Tisak to Lima departure. That is okay, so we have Tisak, Parak, Balux, Torno, Natex, and the Natex is the entry point of the standard arrival route for Vienna, that's okay. And we'll basically, we can now get the weather in Vienna. As you can see, boarding is in progress. Let me just start the self-loading cargo.
Hi, cabin crew, we're ready to get going now, so as soon as you're ready, you can open the doors and start letting the passengers on board. Thank you.
There we go. So weather in Vienna is 1102 knots, so probably it's going to be 28 for arrival. Sorry, 29er for arrival. And because the Natex is our entry point, it's going to be Natex 1 Whiskey pass up for mic transition. So we can do that also. All the constraints are there. Copy to the secondary active for radio navigation. We are going to tune to Belgrade VOR 112.05 for both, and we are going to use Obrenovac or Oscar Bravo Romeo NDB for our engine out procedure. If there is anything that happens after V1 that requires us getting back to Belgrade, the standard engine out procedure is to take off, then direct Oscar Bravo Romeo, perform the ECAM actions, and when the aircraft is in clean state, we can then basically get back and land. So radio navigation set. Now we need to do the unit B page. For that we use the load sheet 56.3 slash 31.7, block fuel 4.4 tons. As for our fuel calculation, so we have 2.5 trip fuel, we have contingency of 200 kilos, so 0.2 contingency. We have for our alternate airport 0.7 required fuel, and the final reserves is going to be 1 ton. And we'll get some direct, so this is going to be okay. Our progress page is, we get it prepared for the, again, the engine out procedure. Our cruise level is going to be 380, so we're going to do it. The next thing is the performance calculation, and I would also request the winds. Now to perform the performance request, there we go. So it's going to be runway 30. We will ask for intersection just to verify delta. Wind in Belgrade is going to be 3205 knots. QNH 1023. And the temperature in Belgrade is 19 degrees Celsius. So we are going to use probably config 1 plus F. Takeoff weight estimation says 60.5 tons, and our max takeoff for the takeoff CG is 31.5. We can now send that to a dispatch center to receive the performance calculation for this flight, and we can actually open it here. Turn on the seatbelt sign. Okay, wind has been loaded. Now we can start the APU. And the performance calculation has arrived, so we can actually use delta, which is great news. So it will be 126, 126, 131, 126, 126, and 131. Transition altitude is 10,000. We are taking off from runway 30. So noise abatement 2 procedure, that means 1330, 1330, and 1330. That's correct. Takeoff shift is 1,300 meters. Flaps 1 down 02 on the stabilizer, and flex 70. So performance calculation is complete. all we need to do now is wait for the boarding to complete, and we got the APU available, so we can now run some APU bleed. We'll leave the external power on, because if I'm not mistaken, yeah, so this issue, this is the FSLabs issue, so basically you solve it by turning off the battery and then turning on, and they should drop to hopefully 0 at some moment, or maybe not. And because we have the external power, the APU generator is not connected, so it's not being used. Everything is running on the external, but we have the air conditioning. And then of course, once we disconnect the external power, the APU generator is going to kick in and provide power to both DC1 and DC2, and it will provide a bleed air necessary for the engine startup.
Hi there, we're ready to go up here, so once everyone's on board, please feel free to close the doors and we can get going.
Just
Okay, great, we're almost done.
something here. It's basically 80-80. Just looking for the URL for the MCDU remote to open it on a tablet, so give me a few moments. Oh, never mind. Let's see, all doors has been closed. So now we can disconnect external power, and we can ask for the jetway to disconnect.
Hi, Captain. All passengers are on board and
We have
doors
also
have
received
been
our
closed.
actual load sheet, so let's see if there is some big discrepancies there. Nope. So our performance calculation is still correct. We've done it. Our initial climb altitude is going to be 6,000 feet. Everything else is okay. And basically we are ready to...
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome on board the aircraft. My name is Steve. I'm your pilot today, along with First Officer David and your senior flight attendant Alana. She, with the rest of the crew, will be making our way around the cabin, making sure you're comfortable. We're not anticipating any delays, so we should be arriving on time at our destination. The guys on the ground have just told us they've finished loading the final bits of luggage into the aircraft, so we should be on our way very shortly. We are, however, waiting to receive clearance to push back and start before we taxi to the runway. If you could help the cabin crew by getting yourself sat comfortable with the seatbelts fastened, that would be fantastic. Once airborne, we'll be starting our in-flight services, but for now, I'd like to thank you for choosing to fly with us today, and I hope you enjoy the flight. Thank you. Cabin crew armed doors, thank you.
That's okay. Once again, let's just double check the surroundings. All good. So we can now address on the radio frequency. Belgrade traffic, AirSerbia 60 mic push and start, Charlie 2 facing east. We are going for Delta holding point runway 3230.
Release parking brakes.
So parking brake release.
Commencing push.
Transponder
All
on.
engines clear. Start and wheel.
Block off. On. And we can now basically, we have the bleed. That's good. We can turn on the beacon. And ignition start. We'll wait for the bleed pressure to stabilize. There we go. So starting number 2. So, if we take a look at the upper ECAM, what we can see is that our EGT is rising and our N1 percentage is also rising. It should stabilize, I believe, around 20%, and our EGT should reach its peak and then stabilize.
Set parking brakes.
So there we go, parking brake set, and there we go, we have the available lights, so we can start engine number 1 correction. So, when we start it, the bleed pressure is going to raise N2 up to, I believe, 10 or 12%, somewhere around there. So soon, you'll get the... As you can see, it open 22, 23, 24, 25, maybe. There we have the N1 starting to raise. Now we have the fuel, and you can see the igniter B is active. It's basically igniting that fuel. There we go, EGT is rising, and 1% is also rising. And we wait until it is stabilized, and the EGT is also in the green, and we get the available illumination of the EPR. Now, to spare some time, we can actually tell the ground to disconnect. This is not per the standard operating procedures, but speed things up. There we go. So, we have available number 1. All engines are okay. We can perform the after. So we take off the bleed. After engine startup sequence, we return ignition mode to null. Turn off master switch, and we arm the ground spoilers, reset rudder trim to 0, set flaps into takeoff configuration, which is 1+F. As we can see, the spoiler and also the flaps are fixed. There we go.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
So it is set. Basically, we need to set the pitch trim to down 02. So we move it to down 02 and we perform flight control check. So full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral, and full left, full right. Radar test, neutral. We are good. And we can thank the guys for removing everything. We are basically good. We start the runway and the nose light. And with that in mind, we just published that we are starting taxiing. So Belgrade traffic, AirSerbia 60 Mike, taxiing holding point Delta, runway 30 via Foxtrot, Golf and Alpha. With that, we can release the parking brake. Now we activate brakes and verify that our pressure is 0, and it is, so we can now set the auto brake to max and do the takeoff config test. We have engine oil low for temperature, engine oil low temperature for engine 1 and 2. It will disappear, so we just leave it on. And once we are clear of people, we'll be turning on our weather radar and our predictive wind shear.
Cabin crew seats for takeoff, please.
So, right is clear, left is clear. Can now turn left on Golf. Here also left is clear and the right is clear, so we can now there we go. And since we are now clear of any landing equipment, turn on the weather radar, turn on predictive wind shear, and we have takeoff, ECAM, no blue. Center line and below 30 knots of the ground speed, so braking down to 15 knots, and these VIE engines are pretty powerful on idle, so you're basically taxiing on idle thrust. And since we are approaching delta intersection, slow down a little bit and let's turn on our landing lights and our strobe and also our TA array. Enter the delta and announce that we are going to enter the runway. Belgrade traffic, AirSerbia 60 Mike entering runway 30 on delta, and we'll be taking off TSAC 2 Lima departure. just for any check the final is clear, and the 1-2 is also clear, so we are clear to enter the runway. Also nothing on our navigation display, no traffic around us, so we are basically good to go. There we go. And %. Okay, cabin ready. Received in the last moment. Save PayPal. So 50% up, and now we'll start to stabilize the thrust. They're stable, so flag 70 SRS runway, auto thrust blue, climb nav blue. Knots, we can release the pressure on the yoke.
Big one.
And rotate gently 10 degrees. Positive rate. Gear up.
Positive rate, gear up.
There we go, gently raise our nose. And we can now turn on the autopilot 2. Autopilot 2 on. Thrust climb, climb nav, alt blue, 6000 blue. So we are good to go. And basically, because there is no ATC and there's nobody around us, we can go from the present position, direct park, up in points, and insert the direct. Going to climb to 380. It's a bit high, but let's try that. Okay, flaps 0, speed checked, and we can now altitude has been detected. What I want to check is the optimum is 365, so basically 380 should be fine, but we'll see with regards to the distance we have. Let's have some music. Any questions so far? Anything you'd like to ask? Feel free. approaching 10,000, so we can now basically turn off our landing lights and we can turn off seatbelt sign. We pass the transition altitude, so set to standard and set to standard. Also per our SOP, cost index about 10,000 is 0. And also we need to clear our radio navigation back to default, and it will tune the VORs as we progress through our flight. We are going through some clouds and the temperature is plus 14, so no need for anti-ice.
down position and clear any items from the out. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start serving drinks. Please make sure your tray table is in the down position and clear any items from the out. Thank you.
Everything looks good. I'm not going to put it like direct NATEX because I have self-loading cargo add-on which needs to complete food and drinks services in flight in order for my passengers to be satisfied. So we are going to do the full route from Parak to Balux, and the top of descent is calculated a few 11 miles after Balux, so that's fine. We should reach our cruise level in around 7 minutes or 77 miles. What this basically means is that if we go to our fuel page, we'll see that our outer tanks are going to be transferred to our left and right main tanks, because that's where the pumps are that are powering the engines. So once the level in these fuel tanks drops below a certain point, the transfer is automatically triggered from the outer tanks to the inner tanks. 2,000 to go. Get back to cost index 15, and we can basically switch quick to below mode. To go. And Vienna went offline, so we'll be basically preparing our own approach as planned. Runway 29er. We have reached
Ladies and gentlemen, from the cockpit, just to let you know, we've reached our cruise level and we're not anticipating any major delays, so hope to have you at your destination on time as planned. As the cabin crew make their way around the aircraft, please make sure the aisles are clear of any items, and I invite you to please sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. Thank you.
Our cruise. And basically now let's go direct Natex. Direct to Natex. We have 58 miles to top of descent, 9 minutes. So let's get the weather for Vienna. Check if there is the ATC, but I doubt, because the ATC left offline. No. As you can see, no information. So let's get the weather. It's variable 2 knot, CAV OK, 14 degrees, QNH 1025, so we can proceed with 29er. Proceed with 29er. Basically, we are going to prepare for our descent. So, performance. Approach phase, QNH is 10. So this. So 1025 hectopascals. Temperature is 14 degrees Celsius. Wind is variable 2 knots. Transitional altitude is 110, and the bar reference for the ILS is, give me a moment, ILS 29er. Minima is 800. So decision height is 100 feet or 700 feet above ground level. 00 bar. With that, we are all set, and basically we can switch to a flight plan and to performance. and also because we are not going to perform the full transition, we'll actually get Passat. Whiskey 951. So we're going for direct Whiskey 951. Upping points, yes. Insert, and probably we're gonna need to start descending. That's correct. Down to 3000 managed. So I believe the 3000 is the enter. Yes. 3000 feet managed descent. And to help it a little bit, we're actually going to apply our speed brakes. Low auto brakes, and we are going to vacate runway 29 to the right on Alpha 9 or Alpha 7, depending on how much we overshoot the touchdown zone. Okay, passing transition altitude. And turn the landing lights. Fasten seatbelts on. Let's add a little bit of speed brake to catch the green dot. There it is.
Cabin crew, please prepare the cabin for landing. Thank you.
Okay, passing 5,000. 2,000 to go. Just check the wind. Oh, variable 2, 14, all good. Alt star
2500.
Perfect. And approach phase activated. We are decelerating. That's good. Just check, go around altitude for Vienna. Go around altitude 5000. That's okay. Here we are. Clean, minimal clean speed. And we're going to arm the approach. AP 1+2, log star, cut 3 dual. Glide slope alive. Flaps 1 speed check. Intercepting glide slope on S speed. And then not later than 2000 feet above ground level we're going to extend flaps 2 and gear down. And we have a cabin ready report. GS star, perfect. Let's announce it. Vienna traffic, AirSerbia 60 Mike, fully established, ILS29er. And we can now go to 40 flaps 2. We have the runway inside. That's good. And gear down.
Cabin crew, please take your seats for landing. Thank you.
2000.
Arm spoilers and turn on the nose and the runway landing lights. Decelerating. We are 5 miles from final and 1500 above ground level. Can go for flaps 3, it should help with the decelerating down to F speed. And full flaps.
1000.
1000. We are fully configured. Full flaps extended. Ground spoilers arm or the speed brakes arm. Gear is down. Lights all good. We are good for the landing. Forgot to set the go around altitude, so go around altitude 5000. And we have the landing inhibited. Approaching 500, autopilot off,
500.
manual flight. Losing a bit of the FPS there, but we should
300.
be fine landing.
$200. 100 above. 100. Minimum.
Continue.
40. 30. 20. Retard. 10. 5.
Touchdown. Spoilers diesel. Reversers idle.
Vienna traffic, Austria 3 Alpha Charlie, taxi to runway 29 and beautiful landing there by the FSLabs company.
Thank you very much, and we are also vacating runway 29er now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please initiate until the aircraft has arrived at the gate.
Reversers off, ground spoilers
Devices should remain turned off
disarmed,
until you are in the
and we can
terminal
retract the
building.
flaps.
Dame i gospodo, dobrodošli. Molimo vas da ostanete na svojim sedištima dok avijama zauzme parking poziciju i dok se ne isključi znak za pojaseva. Molimo vas da budete pažljivi prilikom otvaranja
Turn off the landing systems, turn off weather radar. KRA, landing lights off, throw, master switch, and turn on restart. And we are going right on mic. Yeah, Gaia simulation really know how to kill the FPS. Hopefully we don't crash the simulator. I think this is barely like 5 FPS. Oh, it's 12. Let's park it here on the left.
And the Vienna traffic, Austria 3 Alpha Charlie is clear for takeoff from runway 29.
Let's park it somewhere around here. So this is Charlie 35. This is Charlie 35. There we go, and we can turn off the runway and nose light.
And from Austria 3 Alpha Charlie to the FSLabs company at Vienna airport, I wish you a pleasant good night and good sleep.
Good night and safe flight from AirSerbia 60 Mike, thanks. Yes, here's the stop. Parking brake on. APU bleed on. Engine 2 off, engine 1 off. Okay, 2000, stand by for transponder. Stop. And we can turn off the beacon
Cabin
light.
crew, the aircraft is secure. Please open doors. Thank you.
Let's connect the jetway.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the cockpit once again, I hope you enjoyed your flight with us today. On behalf of myself, the first officer, and the cabin crew, we wish you a safe and pleasant journey from the airport and hope to see you again soon. Thanks for flying with us.
Go. External power from the jetway. APU off, seatbelts off, deboarding. Okay, that was it for tonight. Thank you for being with us and see you another time. Bye.